A Beautiful Mind and Soul. My new book. What to expect from this book? You can find it at Amazon.com as shown at the bottom of the screen. Is there a conflict between science and faith? What are the side effects of science? When science becomes a religion, can science remove the soul from the body? Can science eliminate the mind, the beauty of the soul, the future of body and soul after death? The book has a special format, a dialogue. It is a dialogue between a skeptical scientist and a religious scientist. And together they discuss the beauty of the animal, of the body and soul. The conflict that wasn't. There is this view that science and faith are in a conflict with each other. Really? When I say that I come from God, I am not denying that I came here from my parents and that they came here from their parents. There is nothing wrong with saying that children come from their parents, that's science, and yet at the same time that children come from God, that's faith. No contradiction here, no conflict. There is no conflict between science and religion. The conflict theory is a myth, born during the Enlightenment era. As a matter of fact, many scientists are religious and many Christians are scientists. Science and religion are not in a battle. They each have their own outlook on the world. It's like looking at the world through two different lenses. No wonder then that Father George Lemaitre, the father of the Big Bang theory, could describe God as one who gave us the mind to understand him and to recognize a glimpse of his glory in our universe, which he has so wonderfully adjusted to the mental power with which he has endowed us. Science dismantles and peels off. That's one of the characteristics of science. It's typically based on dismantling its object of investigation. It peels off layers, so to speak, until it reaches deeper layers or lower levels of investigation. That's why most scientists distinguish various levels of organization in a so-called organizational hierarchy. Each level in the hierarchy is seen as composed of building blocks from lower levels, but the level itself is also building material for higher levels. Consequently, scientists nowadays consider themselves specialized not so much in the object of their research as in the level of their research. Dismantling or peeling off is often called reduction. That's okay, until it becomes reductionism, claiming that the lowest level is the only level that counts and makes for the one and only explanation of all the other levels above it. That is a philosophical worldview, not a scientific discovery, let alone a scientific conclusion. What reductionism boils down to is speaking of everything in this world in terms of nothing but. That's why this ideology is often called nothing buttery or nothing butism. Here are some examples of nothing buttery. We are nothing but stardust. We are nothing but members of a colony. We are nothing but overvalued animals. We are nothing but a bundle of instincts. We are nothing but a complex machinery. We are nothing but a pack of neurons. We are nothing but a string of DNA. We are nothing but a mixture of chemical compounds. And then there is also the cutting knife of science, another characteristic of science. I compare this with a watch like this. All parts are contributing to the watch. It's an age-old question. Is the whole, the watch, more than the sum total of its parts? Some say it is. Taking the whole apart destructs what we had before by breaking the relationships between the parts. Hence, the part cannot contribute to the whole anymore. Take the parts separately and the whole does no longer work. In other words, the whole is more than the sum total of its parts. A cell, for instance, is a complicated whole of parts. Taking the whole apart destructs what we had before. Hence, the parts cannot contribute to the whole anymore. That is why an isolated DNA molecule does not do anything unless it's part of a larger network of molecules located in the cell. Are there ultimate constituents of reality? The cutting knife of particle physicists has revealed to us atomic parts such as electrons, protons and neutrons, further split into subparticles made of quarks. Physics seems to show us that the ultimate constituents of reality are elementary material particles and subparticles. This suggests that everything is material and made up of elementary particles. That is called materialism. It says that matter really is all there is. Even the mind seems to work with material parts, for instance neurons. The book is an attack of materialism. There is no logically safe way to reason from there is matter in this world, which is a scientific issue, to there is only matter in this world, or to everything in this world is a matter. That is an ideology. The problem to prove claims like these is that we would have to be all-knowing or receive divine revelation to be able to make such claims about all there is in this universe. For instance, what about thoughts? Obviously, matter is a material entity, but it's hard, if not impossible, to see how thoughts can be material entities. How can the thought of prime numbers in mathematics be material? How can the thought of non-existing entities such as centaurs be material? We can think about sizes and colors of things, but the thoughts themselves do not have sizes and colors. They are not material. Thoughts come from the mind. Science can study the human brain as a material entity, but it cannot really study the human mind, because the mind is a non-material entity. Scientists may be able to comprehend the brain, but not the mind, for they need a mind to begin with in order to study the brain. The book mentions many other reasons why the mind is different from the brain, and why materialism is basically wrong. Can science remove the soul? Many scientists laugh at the idea of a soul. Some use this analogy. Imagine someone asks at the end of a tour through all the facilities and laboratories of Harvard University, "Now, where is the university?" That is an odd question. In essence, the question of someone who only believes in materialism in buildings. However, if there were no Harvard University, those buildings would not exist. So the university is as real as its buildings. And the same can be said about mind and soul. They are both real, but not both material. We are body and soul. Human beings are as much the bodies of their souls as they are the souls of their bodies. I explain this extensively in the book. In other words, we can tell body and soul apart, but we cannot set them apart. The soul has two parts, an intellectual part, the mind, as well as a voluntary part, the will. The intellectual part enables human beings to have thoughts and to think properly. The voluntary part enables human beings to have intentions and to act freely. So we have rationality and morality. We are rational and moral beings. Rationality comes with the intellectual part and makes each one of us an animal rationale, so that our thought can be judged as true or false. Morality, on the other hand, comes with the voluntary part and makes us beings who live by a moral code, so that our actions can be judged as good or bad. That's why we have a beautiful soul, which includes a beautiful mind and a beautiful will. They are made in God's image and likeness. What went wrong? Isn't all of this too good to be true? Something has happened to the beauty of the soul and the beauty of its mind and the beauty of its will. A person's beautiful mind can often be darkened. A person's beautiful will can often be corrupted. How can this be? The answer can be found in the Bible. Satan. Satan is the enemy of God. and he made sure in paradise that he is also the enemy of God's likeness and image in human beings. So how to go to heaven? This is how we were created, according to God's image and likeness, beautiful mind and soul. But we were pulled away from God by Satan and pulled ourselves away. To go to heaven, we need to be united with God again. All of this and much more is in this book. You can find it at Amazon.com. Is there a conflict between science and faith? Find out. What are the side effects of science? Find out in this book. When science becomes a religion, we are in danger. Can science remove the soul from the body? Find out in this book. Can science eliminate the mind? Find out why it can't. The beauty of the soul and the future of body and soul after death.